Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video on the RGTV YouTube channel. And today we're having another one of these discussions, a little father-son bonding time, a little conversation between me and you. I'm sure you guys are all aware, but Cristian Roldan has been called up to the U.S. men's national team. For anyone who's watched Cristian Roldan play for the last year and a half, game in, game out, we all know that this is a deserved call-up. The problem is, you've probably seen a lot of pushback on this, a lot of
people saying this is crazy. What are we stuck in 2022? Is Greg Berhalter the coach again?
and I'm here to talk about the discussions going on about Cristian Roldan because I got a lot to say. I got a lot on my mind. So let's get right into the video. So obviously the news has come out. Cristian Roldan called up to the USMNT. Like I said before, well deserved. Cristian Roldan has had a fantastic year and a half. Cristian Roldan is not the same player he was 3 years ago. Not only that, Cristian Roldan, whenever he got called up with the USMNT, he was being played as an outside winger. For those of us that actually watch him, we know that is not nowhere near his best position. Cristian Roldan, when he played on the outside for us, like in 2023, 2022, he was solid, of course. Christian's a utility guy. He can be solid anywhere. He was solid at the MLS level as an outside mid. So at that time, seeing him play for the USMNT, making the World Cup roster, I know, Sounders fan here, I know it kind of sucks to say, I did not think he should have been in that World Cup roster as well as Jordan Morris at that time. Things change. Cristian Roldan, the last year and a half, has been absolutely sensational. He's gone from being a solid role player out wide to being one of the best midfielders in the entire MLS. And that's the biggest thing I want to talk about. In general, I like to have players in my team playing from Europe more so than the MLS because I think they play at a higher level, higher intensity. They're more ready for games like the World Cup. I will say in general, although I'm an MLS lover, supporter, I do for the men's national team usually prefer those playing at a higher European level than the MLS. Just better competition, higher intensity, things that translate more in big international tournaments like the World Cup, like Copa America, for example. However, I'm not opposed to bringing MLS players in. It's kind of like a similar way to, I mean, it's a hard one-for-one comparison, but it's not like Brazilian national team fans would be opposed to Brazilian league players being called in to the national team. Not to necessarily start, but just to be in the roster. I think Cristian Roldan has more than proven that he deserves at least a look. I'm not saying Cristian Roldan has to be a roster lock. Of course not. Very few players in this team are actual roster locks. But his play over the year and a half has warranted a look. Whether or not Cristian Roldan takes his opportunity, puts on a great show, puts on a very solid performance, remains to be seen. But you know what? Fair enough. He could go to the USMNT and put in a stinker of a performance. And I'll be like, you know what? I mean, this is as good Cristian Roldan has ever been, probably as good as he'll ever be. If he's not getting it done, then it's over for the USMNT hopes that he has. But he still deserves a look. And this is the biggest gripe I see with USMNT Twitter. Oh, they need to be playing in Europe in a top 5 league. Not even a top 5 league. A lot of fans just want them to be playing in Europe in general. Here's the counter argument to that. We've seen Cristian Roldan this season play against top European competition in a competitive tournament. Played against PSG, played against Atleti. He did not look a beat out of place. He matched their intensity. He matched their level. He did not look like a player that didn't belong there. He looked like he absolutely belonged there. Not only that, but against Botafogo, he was the best player on the field. And whether or not you want to say Botafogo has the quality of these European teams, they have absolutely the game speed and intensity. And that's what the World Cup offers. The World Cup is not the Champions League, right? You're not going to have the best of the best talents in the world playing in the World Cup. Of course, the top end teams will, right? But you have a lot of teams that can make noise, that can be good just from that level of intensity and being able to play in a system effectively. Cristian Roldan can absolutely be that guy. He's proven for the last year and a half he can be that guy. But like I said, he's proven this season he can hold his own and be a plus player against teams outside of the MLS. And another thing is that people act like we have this insane pool of players. No, this player pool has got to be one of the most overrated player pools I've seen. The biggest gripe I see, which I like Yunus Musa, right, as a talent, but saying that it's a complete travesty that Musa's left off this roster and Roldan is in. Musa's done nothing but objectively be bad in Europe. I'm sorry. Yunus Musa, very talented player. Like, I rate him for sure. But he's done nothing but fail. Cristian Roldan can go to AC Milan, go to Valencia, and fail. Like, he can do that too. Yunus Musa is not special in that regard. I don't see how he can be a roster lock just because he plays in the Serie A. Like, that's the requirement that we have, bro. Ridiculous. I've even seen outrage for names like Gianluca Busio, who's playing in the second division of Italy. Just because he's in Europe, he should be called over Cristian Roldan. That's got to be the dumbest take I've ever seen in my life. You're just looking at that point, you're just looking at the club league. You're not even looking at the actual player, the performances that they're putting in. Like, you just, when you say stuff like that, you just immediately lose credit because you're not actually watching these players play. You're just saying this because, I don't know, Twitter told you to. And another thing is, you already know that if Obed Vargas had stayed with the USMNT and he had been the one called up for this camp, which I would be very, very excited for. Okay, absolutely. We fumbled Obed Vargas, and we can all see that now. But even if Obed Vargas got called up for the USMNT and made the World Cup roster, I guarantee you these people complaining would not care. And objectively, this season, Cristian Roldan has been comfortably better than Obed Vargas. Of course, Obed's the more talented player. I will grant you that a million times out of a million. But Cristian Roldan has been the better performer, the more effective player this season. And like I said, they would not be upset if Obed Vargas made the roster, but they're just crying in absolute shambles that Cristian Roldan is. And that just shows you that they don't actually watch these games. They don't know what they're talking about. And again, I just want to preface this. This is not me saying Cristian Roldan has to be a roster lock. I'm saying he's earned it. That's all I'm saying. He's earned another look. And you cannot take that away from him. And the other thing is that I know you want these European players to be in, like McKinney, Adams, Johnny, Tessman. I rate them too. I would want them to be in too and get looks too. The reality of the situation is, whether or not you believe, tinfoil hat, that there's an MLS quota, if they're going to bring in MLS players, Cristian Roldan is the best American midfielder in the MLS, and it's not even close. It's not even a discussion at this point. So if we're going to be bringing an MLS heavy roster to the World Cup, you would at least want it to be the best players in the MLS. And Cristian Roldan is one of the best players in the MLS. And again, I'm not a guy that just wants to throw in my Sounder players in the USMNT and back them just because they're Sounders. No. Like, I don't think, for example, Jordan Morris is USMNT quality. I don't think Jesus Ferreira is USMNT quality. I don't think even Jackson Riggin, I don't think, is USMNT quality. But Cristian Roldan, I will absolutely back a call-up 100%. And basically, that's all I got to say. I got my rant out. Thank you guys for coming to my TED Talk. If you like this video, throw a thumbs up on it. Subscribe if you have not already. If you haven't checked out our YouTube membership, I suggest you do so. Very cheap. You get some cool perks. We got a video with your member questions being answered and dropped onto our channel. So if you want to participate in the next set of those questions, you can join, become a member, and leave us your questions and be a part of the next Rave Read TV YouTube video. So ladies and gentlemen, that'll be it. I hope y'all have a blessed day.